So the next question is from your former student, Dr. Ibrahim Almojel, and his question is on ethics and government systems. He asks, how do we think about drawing our own red line or choosing our battles? In class, we say that we can't burn ourselves for parking, for example. So, how do we go about thinking and reflecting on where we draw that line? The question of how close you want to be from evil is troubling, and it is difficult to have a clear mind when thinking about it. To illustrate, we pay taxes while we disagree with both the concept of taxes and where the money is used. Example, wars, killing, jailing of innocent people, etc. Is this too close? How do we think clearly about that?
Yes, that's always a question, and you're referring to self-immolation being a very powerful statement about how you care about something, but the problem is you can only do that once, and you want to be sure that you do it only when it's something that's worthy of that kind of investment of the rest of your life. And every day we're doing things that contribute to activities that you wish wouldn't take place in the world, no matter what your position is. When the Dalai Lama spoke recently, he was asked by someone, if you're compassionate and you see something, someone begging or in need, what happens if you don't feel you can really help them? I mean, your means are limited. It's going to be the obverse of the question you mentioned. And this is what, he didn't use this term, but this is what in Buddhist conversations called the problem of idiot compassion. If you really care about people, then you might say, well, every time you see someone begging or asking for something, you ought to just give it to them. Well, the question is, are you serving them by giving it to them? Do you care about them enough that sometimes you will not give them what they want? Now notice if we really, as we should, love our children, and when they're small, they may want a lot of things that you don't think would be good for them, and you say no. You would not let your child eat things that we thought were bad for them, even though they were crying because they really want to eat them. And you don't do that because you want to frustrate them, but because you really do care about them. So if you really care about them, then you will sometimes say no. And if you really care about these people who are begging, and for example, in this case, you might know that the reason they're asking for money is they're going to go buy some substance, alcohol or drugs or something, that they are addicted to, then it would not be an act of kindness to give them that money for that purpose necessarily. So there's only so much you can do, and you have to be sure you do it when it's appropriate. Now on the other side, when it comes to supporting or even in a relatively passive way like paying taxes, activities that you really want no part of, you have to decide. It's the self-immolation problem. If you decide not to pay your taxes because you disagree with something the government's doing, well, how likely is that to have an effect on the government versus a very bad effect on you? And is that to get back to the self-immolation, are you willing to pay that price for this particular issue? Or are you going to take another course of action, which might be to wake up other people to the need to take action, maybe in some concerted way, so that you will have a real effect on the organization, the government in this case. So that, I think, is the better plan. You have to decide in your own life how you're going to allocate your time and efforts to improving things, to doing the right thing, and there will be trade-offs. Anytime you're in one place, you're not in another place. Anytime you're speaking to one person, you're not speaking to other people, and so forth. And you have to allocate all of that toward what you think is the highest purpose at that point for your life. And sometimes it's saying no, sometimes it's saying yes, and sometimes it may be self-immolation if it comes to that. I remember talking to a major executive in the government who said, and the question I asked, this is a person who served directly with the President of the U.S., and said, well, when do you just say, I am here to help the President do what he wants to do, and when do I say, I just can't be here anymore? And his answer, which I thought was a very good one, is as long as it wasn't a matter of principle. In other words, it's okay to do something like this. He would do it at a different level than I would. That's not a problem. But if I found that what he's doing is against one of my fundamental principles, then I just have to resign. And that's a pretty good answer, I think, for all of us in our lives. So you can adjust your behavior unless it gets to be a matter of principle. And when it's a matter of principle, I don't want to directly be violating my personal ethical code ever. But the extent to which I'm going to be able to influence others to live the way I think they should and not do things, that's a matter of limited resources, limited time, and the choice of what's most important to them.